All right.
The theme.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. All right, let's go into it.
Are you ready? How's it
Yeah,
going?
I'm ready. I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good.
We're in person now. Doing film frauds.
This is a terrible intro. Can you with our typical intro?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Film Frauds, or myself, Matt, and my co-host, Tyler.
Hello.
Provide our completely unprofessional, 100% biased opinions on the movies of today, tomorrow, and yesteryear. But today, we have broken the fourth wall. We are in the same room together.
That's awful, yeah.
Yes, now it's 100% more erotic. The sexual chemistry, which at first only over Zoom across the U.S., is now in person, and things are gonna get physical.
I just like to think it's just we're talking about Jim Jarmusch and Paterson. We just start fucking. We're recording. If our microphone is awful, we're recording on tops of books I haven't read.
This is the most use these books have gotten.
Yeah, no.
Since
Oh no, I read this one. I read Wuthering Heights. Okay, what are the other ones? Oh yeah, Don Quixote did not read that.
No.
March didn't read that.
No.
Oh, there looks like there's some stuff here I may have read. Probably didn't.
No.
Okay, Matt.
Start reading the first chapter. Is the same thing as reading
Yeah,
the whole book, right?
Who says you have to finish a book
Yes.
to read it? Yeah,
Yes.
come on. Okay, so what's going on?
So today we're doing Modern Classics series. Jim Jarmusch, Paterson. I recommended this movie.
You did recommend.
'Cause
Why?
we like to switch off. So you actually were the one who recommended that I watch Paterson in the first place.
When?
Like back in the pandemic.
Oh my god,
You
really?
watched the movie Paterson. You said I should check it out. So I watched it. So this is a second viewing for me. Second viewing for you as well.
Yes.
And our Modern Classic series is basically where we take movies from the 2020s, 2010s, and 2000s and try to judge based on merit and how they're considered today, whether or not they'll be remembered as like iconic films of the time period. And so Paterson is Jim Jarmusch's second most recent film. His most recent film is The Dead Don't Die.
Oh yeah.
Yes, it stars Adam Driver, and he is a bus driver. Bus driverson
in Paterson,
New Jersey. He's also a little bit of a closeted poet, very talented, and he just lives a very simple, normal life. And in this movie, it has almost no conflict at all. It's essentially just a slice of life movie. So this is the first time in a while where we've both actually watched a lot of movies made by the filmmaker leading up to this episode. So do you want to talk about your experiences with Jim Jarmusch, both this week and just in general?
Oh man, okay. So I think there's this guy on Letterboxd who I follow who recommended Paterson years ago, and I remember seeing that and being like, "Wow, it's this guy's favorite movie of the year it came out." I was like, "I should probably check it out." It's like the Josh Lewis guy on Letterboxd. Yeah, he's like one of the more popular Letterboxd reviewers. But I remember watching it and being absolutely mystified with it. When I'd watched it for the first time during COVID, it was unlike any other movie I had seen because I was still getting into it. And I loved it. I loved its kind of just peaceful look at existence. And I got really curious about Jim Jarmusch, and I went and watched Dead Man. And I was like, this is a very odd movie. Very good. And then that's about it for I watched Jim Jarmusch. I bought Dead Man on Criterion, and then I actually bought his movie Mystery Train, not realizing it was an anthology movie. And I don't like anthology movies. I have a hard time getting into them. It's probably why you remember that Coen Brothers movie came out in 2018? Something Scruggs.
Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Yeah, I never watched that.
I love Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Is that really that good?
Yeah.
Okay, I should probably watch that then. But I have a hard time, and I got through half of Mystery Train, and I was like, ugh. And then you recommended Paterson, and so you and I both went and watched a couple of his movies.
Yes.
What about you? What's your experience with Jarmusch?
So Paterson was my first Jim Jarmusch movie as well. I watched The Dead Don't Die a little bit after that, but then since then I have not touched a Jim Jarmusch movie until this week. And this week I rewatched Paterson. I watched for the first time Dead Man, Ghost Dog, and last night Only Lovers Left Alive.
Okay.
And the best thing I can say about Jim Jarmusch is that he's a creative mind who is constantly trying to reinvent what he makes. He doesn't make the same movie over and over again. All of his movies feel stylistically different to a certain extent.
For the most part,
but a lot of them take place in completely different settings, sometimes different time periods as well. And the what I think they all relate is that they're very indie, but and they're very character focused and kind of unconventionally paced plots.
Yeah.
But and also the dialogue, I always feel like Jim Jarmusch, he writes very different characters, but all of his characters always feel believable for the setting that they're in because he's such a great writer.
Yeah.
And so I really enjoyed this week actually of watching
Yeah,
his movies.
it was fun, honestly. Do you have any? So you should get closer to the microphone,
Okay.
just in case. We got to be within kissing distance.
Okay.
So I mean, you and I.
So like how we were before we recorded.
Oh
right?
yeah, before we're just so so you watched Paterson, you watched Ghost Dog, you watched The Dead Don't Die, but that was earlier. You watched Dead Man, you watched Only Lovers Left Alive.
Yes.
Are there any that like really stood out to you? Because I also watched I watched everything except for Only Lovers Left Alive.
Okay. So I would say Paterson was a 4-star movie the first time I watched it.
Yeah.
I rewatched it, and I'll get into more details as to why.
Yeah.
But it was a 5-star movie on a rewatch.
Okay.
It's the only movie of his that I've rewatched, and I suspect that the movies I watched this week will probably get better on rewatches as well. Ghost Dog is a movie that I have not stopped thinking about since I saw it.
Neither have I. I fucking
cannot
love
stop
Ghost Dog.
thinking about Ghost Dog. That movie was just dope.
That was awesome.
Like that movie is sick, and I can't understand. Like it's like even like from the philosophical conversations to like the somewhat slapstick violence in the movie. Like I never heard of it until I was just going through Jim Jarmusch movies, and I was going on Just Watch to see like what was available to me, and I saw like Ghost Dogs on HBO Max, and I'm like, I'm just gonna do it. Like I have to do it now. Like RZA did the or is it RZA?
I think it's RZA.
Yeah, RZA did the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Forrest Whitaker, who is like a very successful actor, but no one talks about this role for him.
No, it's awesome.
Yeah, he's great, and like Jim Jarmusch just sprinkles all these little details in his movies, like what you said with in your Letterboxd review. You said like that one guy who just knows kung fu.
Yeah, just out of nowhere. Yeah.
Yeah, and like the Dead Man has that stuff, and Only Lovers Left Alive. They almost have a flight to London because they're trying to escape Detroit, and they look at each other like, "Can we go to London?" They go, "No, we can't go to London." Like, because they're wanted there for some reason. They just don't explain why.
Okay.
Like he's so good at these little details in his world. But Ghost Dog was amazing. Dead Man I thought was really good.
Dead Man's really good. Yep.
And then finally I watched Only Lovers Left Alive last night, which I think is the only movie I saw this week where it felt like more of like a reaction than a movie he wanted to make fully on his own. Because this is 2013, so this is like the peak of vampire romance.
Like What We Do in the Shadows, kind of like
Twilight
that.
had come out.
Okay,
we're still in the push for Twilight. So like it felt more like a reaction, like, oh, I'm gonna make my own spin on this, and it just kind of like it has cool moments, and I think I'll probably like it more on a rewatch. But it also was very heavy on like literary references, but the literary references didn't seem to have much of a point. So like I was on the Wikipedia article and it's saying like, oh, this movie's celebrated for its references, but it's like, hey, Dr. Faustus, oh, hey, Dr. Strangelove, and it's like, okay, like.
Yeah, references.
You call yourself like just because they're references doesn't mean they have any.
What is it like?
Point.
They should be like motifs, but they're not.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like watching a Phase 4 Marvel movie, except references to like classical.
You don't like
writers.
when he called the guy Squidward?
yeah, it's almost exactly what it is, except instead of replace Squidward with Christopher Marlowe. Is basically, what it is, but still solid. Like I still enjoyed it, but with regards to his filmography right now, I would say Paterson's number 1. Ghost Dog's number 2. I think on a rewatch, Ghost Dog will probably be the best movie I've ever seen in my life. Dead Man 3. Only Lovers Left Alive 4, and then The Dead Don't Die 5.
And we can talk about The Dead Don't Die. So that's really I'm curious to watch Only Lovers Left Alive because that was the one that instead of watching that I watched like Jackie and like Cocktail because for some reason it's just how it is.
Just didn't get like a Night of the Living Dead. I just couldn't find the time.
I just couldn't find the time. He's a weird director because honestly, out of the movies that I watched this week, and for me it was I've already seen Dead Man. Dead Man's still pretty fresh in my memory. This slow moving journey to basically death and despair and the horrors you encounter across the way, and it's basically like a graveyard march is essentially. I remember really liking that. Ghost Dog,
I found it to be really heartwarming towards the end though.
It was kind of peaceful. Yeah, it's like a peaceful acceptance of like a journey.
Yeah.
And honestly, out of the 3 Jim Jarmusch movies I watched, the one we're talking about today is probably the one I have the least to say about.
Okay.
Ghost Dog is like an ethereal, like something else. I don't know. I do not know how to describe it.
It's like The Killer, but like the ghetto version of The Killer.
Yeah, like kind. But it's like it's weird because Jim Jarmusch movies, the ones that I've seen and stuff like that, all seem like you said they're like stylistically very different. I think they're thematically very similar. They're characters who are just kind of hanging out.
Yeah.
Like, they're just kind of existing, living lives, and instead, Jarmusch seems to craft these worlds around them. I mean, the big thing about Ghost Dog is it's nebulous in its location. It's the industrial state on the location, on, like, cars, or even one point, I think it says the highway state.
Or even the Dead Man, the town's called The Machine.
Yeah, like, it's nowhere. And Paterson is probably a real place. It's a real location. But I find myself more fascinated with, like, the worlds he built and, like, the vibes he creates than maybe, like, even necessarily the movies themselves. Even though Ghost Dog is, I think, thematically and narratively, like, a genuinely very fascinating movie to examine, whether or not it's, like, the commentary on, like, social class or, like, industrialism and capitalism and the effects that it has.
On, like, the transition from film, because, like, this is the 90s, so this is, like, the end of the mafia
boom,
and all the mafia people are really old and kind of pathetic in the movie, and the rise of, like a sort of like a blaxploitation kind of archetype, like lead character,
like an
Afro
independent
samurai kind of guy, like more voices are coming into, like, the filmmaking scene in the 90s.
It's really
Spike
really
Lee's
cool.
is on the rise in the 90s, like
Spike
things
Lee,
like John Singleton.
Yeah, John Singleton, Spike Lee. I mean, when did Ghost Dog come out? Do you remember?
94, 95,
94?
mid-90s, I think.
Yeah, because Do the Right Thing, I think, was 93. So Spike Lee had just been famously, and I think
Jarmusch and Spike Lee knew each other.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Okay, so that makes sense. I mean, you can see a lot of, there are hints of socioeconomic commentary in all of his movies.
Yes.
I mean, there's stuff of that in Paterson. There's stuff of that in The Dead. We can talk about The Dead Don't Die After. There's stuff of that even in, like, Dead Man, despite maybe the narrative. What do you think? Like, in terms of his movies, like, what stands out to you? Like, I know, like, Ghost Dog and Paterson are sick, but
I just, like, for example, to prepare for this podcast day this morning, I was, like, watching some clips from Paterson.
Yeah.
I was just going, I love that conversation. I love that conversation. I love that character. Just, he's so good at crafting conversations that don't feel like, again, like, he's a pretentious art guy, but at the same time, his movies feel like they discuss art in a genuine way.
Yeah.
Like, people, like, in the movie, the characters just like reading weird books and listening to weird music, and it never feels too self-obsessed.
Yeah.
Like, I like the scene in Ghost Dog where Forrest Whitaker just talks to that little girl about Rashomon.
Yeah, a book that he's like, what do you like
I recommend
that
it. I think it's gonna be really. I think it'd be really cool if you read it. And
Yeah.
things like that. Paterson too. Like, the conversation with him and the Japanese guy, where they're talking about translations and poems.
Yep.
And the Japanese guy is, like, reading a translation is like taking a shower with a rain jacket on.
Yeah.
And that line hit me so hard.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, he just seems like a guy who has absorbed a lot of media, and not only absorb it, but has thought critically about it.
Yeah.
It'd be like the opposite of watching 30 movies in a month on Letterboxd and then looking back and being like, I've never, like, wait, when did I see this
What's
movie?
Charlie Wilson's War?
Name one scene in Charlie Wilson's War.
What's Along Came Paul? What's that Morgan Freeman? We were just making jokes about it. I didn't even remember the name of it.
The Alex Morgan?
The Alex Cross movie, yeah. Along Came Across.
Yeah.
Alex Cross.
Along Came Across.
No, but I do agree. Like, it's one. I mean, like, we don't often comment on people's, like, physical appearance, but he looks very interesting. Like, he's a very fascinating character. Yeah, he's got, like, this, like, he's, like, kind of, like, tall and somewhat skinny and, like, kind of, like,
poofy white hair.
Yeah, poofy white hair, and he usually has, like, sunglasses on. He seems kind of reserved, but you're right. Every time he talks, and I watched a couple interviews with him, he seems very, like, methodical. He knows exactly what he's talking about. And we can talk about The Dead Don't Die because you and I have very different opinions about that movie. But, I mean, if you look at, Ghost Dog came out in the 90s, Dead Man, late 90s. I mean, his movies are the same. They're just, they're exploring different kind of things. And we can talk about Paterson in a bit, but, like, a movie getting funded like this, especially now in, like, 2024, like, it's about a bus driver who does poems. It's like, okay, cool. Like, what happens? Nothing.
He said in an interview, like, he said he was talking to a friend. He sent the manuscript to his friend, and he's like, he was saying, like, oh, Jim, you're really gonna go for the big bucks now. A bus driver who writes poems.
See, but that's great. Like, it's like, and then you watch the movie and you're like, this is clearly, like, a guy who has a vision, who has a story to tell, and
he makes what he wants to make,
and that's what
like
we love.
So, yes.
Yeah, we love that, and I mean, we're still, like, getting into film plots.
He said in an interview he would kneecap an executive if they were trying to tell him what to do.
I believe it.
Yeah.
He seems like a crazy guy. He sounds awesome. I'm very curious to see about your thoughts on The Dead Don't Die, because that seems
on a rewatch.
like,
I almost rewatched it, but it wasn't available on any of the streaming
I did have
services
to. I had to pay for it.
So I was like, if I hate it again, I'm not gonna.
Okay.
Like, feel like I wasted money. But
tell me what your thoughts on that movie are when you watched it.
It's been a while, but I did find it to be. I found that the humor it was going for didn't work for me.
Okay.
And I appreciate social commentary in a movie, but it feels like the social commentary took over the plot. Like
Okay.
I think a movie should always stand on its own,
Okay.
and you can make heavy-handed commentary, but I think Ghost Dog has somewhat heavy-handed commentary, but Ghost Dog also is a movie.
Yeah, I
And
get
whereas
that.
The Dead Don't Die, and like part of it's self-aware, but just because you're self-aware doesn't make you forgiven,
Yeah.
right?
No, yeah, that makes
yeah.
sense, and I mean, I can't argue like against that. Like, if you
It would be like if you had like 50 books and you go, I'm buying 10 more books,
might
guys,
as well,
because
yeah.
I'm not gonna read them.
Middlemarch.
Doesn't make it okay to buy the books just because you announce it to the world, right?
We will not show my corner over there with 150 books.
It is a sin.
A sin. How many books I own
Yes.
and how many movies I have. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Dead Don't Die is really fascinating. So I watched that for the first time, and my formation on it was entirely like, wow, people fucking hate this movie. Like, you hate this movie. Like, I remember you watched it and you talked to us and you're like, the movie sucked. And seeing a lot of reviews and kind of going through it and being like, some people love this movie and some people are like, this thing is garbage, like absolute garbage. Like, people cast it aside. And I watched it and I was like, this movie kind of rocks. Like, I was kind of into it. And I think a lot of it was, it just felt like a movie. I mean, we haven't watched all of Jim Jarmusch movies, but are there any fourth wall breaks in any of the Jim Jarmusch movies that you have seen?
Not that I can think of.
And he's such a deliberate filmmaker that I just spent the entire time being like, why? Like, what's the point? And all the fourth wall breaks are characters just kind of like exasperated with the movie.
Yeah.
They're like, why are you so angry? Like, or Bill Murray talks to Adam Driver and he's like, why do you keep saying things aren't going to work out? And he's like, I have the script. Jim gave me the script. It's whatever. Like, it's all these characters frustrated, and with the social commentary being so deliberately, at least I felt like, one note, like, a lot of it feels like this purposeful, like, I've given up kind of thing. Like, it's a movie. Like, the ending is whatever. Spoiler alert for The Dead Don't Die. I'm about to spoil the ending of the movie. But Tilda Swinton is a Scottish samurai who is an alien who at the end of the movie is just abducted by aliens again. And then Adam Driver's like, well, I mean, you can't win them all with the endings, can you, basically? And I feel like it all is so deliberate. And watching more of his movies, I'm like, man, this guy is so purposeful, so methodical. And part of me is just like, there has to be something there. Like, it can't just be a bad movie, right? I don't know. I'm a big sucker for Adam Driver. We'll talk about this after. And I like Bill Murray, and I like Tilda Swinton. And I kind of just like fun, stupid zombie movies sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, and I just found myself kind of enjoying it, even at the surface level. You're telling me you didn't like when the zombies were like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and they were like Oxy and... You don't remember that?
I remember it now that you say it.
No, they say
but now I'm getting angry again thinking about it.
What about Dead Man?
Dead Man, it's like a good sandwich. Like there's really good bread in the middle.
Hit or miss.
Yeah, but like it's bookended by a really great introduction and a really great finale.
Yeah.
For me, it does like the cardinal sin for movies with me, where it's like you introduce a really cool world and then you go to like the woods.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, for example, like Looper comes to mind, where it's like, really cool world, now we're on a farm.
Yeah.
The Northman, really cool world, now we're on a farm.
Yeah, now we're on a volcano, yeah, kind of.
Well, like, the volcano part is cool, but like, when they go to the farm, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
now it's just like any other movie.
I forgot about that. You don't like when they go to like a secluded location to... Yeah.
Well, like, for example, like, The Machine is such a cool city. Like, when he's walking through the town and stuff, it's like, you're like, whoa, this place is crazy.
Yeah.
And then it's like, then they go to the woods and they walk around the woods because Jarmusch is the price you pay for being an indie filmmaker is that you are limited in your budget.
Yeah.
And I think all his movies at a certain point, I would include Only Lovers Left Alive, where it's like, I think regardless of his budget, he would have movies where people sit around and talk about nothing. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I think that he's also limited by his budget because he can't do certain things. Yeah. Which is why he has to compromise. Be like, okay, they're gonna walk around and they're gonna talk about things for a bit.
Okay.
I would say Dead Man and Only Lovers Left Alive are probably the most obvious examples of him just kind of being like, they probably could have done more if he had a bigger budget, but at the same time he wasn't going to compromise, so he had to fund it with a smaller.
Do you feel like that in, because Ghost Dog honestly is kind of like, Ghost Dog has multiple locations. I mean,
yeah, multiple locations. There's some pretty good fight scenes.
Yeah, there's that sequence at the house.
Yeah, that's
but
good.
It's like, so he does that, but like, I wonder if that because that is I can understand that criticism, especially like like Looper is a definite one where like I like Looper,
Yeah.
but it's hard to argue that the movie moves away from everything interesting in that movie in the final act.
Yeah.
What was the Northman?
But the thing is, like,
the Northman. I forgot they go to a farm. I forgot like it's
yeah,
like
it becomes like a slave.
I forgot like you have like the Ethan Hawke at the beginning, and then you
Yeah.
have where they ransack a village,
Yeah.
and then they just go to a
It's
farm.
like the single take of them ransacking the village and goes, I'm gonna go to a farm now for the
and
next
then they
40 minutes.
Oh, and then they go to the volcano, and then it's over. I forgot about that in
Yeah.
the Northman.
That's like my big. That's what I hate in movies is like when like is when there's interesting world and then, but I'm sure like Jim Jarmusch could probably only shoot in this town for like a certain amount of days before
Yeah.
he ran out of money, so things like that get in the way.
I-
Because like Jarmusch loves violence,
Violence is in a lot of his movies.
and I don't think he's like a Tarantino level of love for violence,
Yeah.
but I think there would be more violence in his movies if he had the budget to
There's
do
a
it.
lot of violence in Dead
Yeah.
Man.
Yes.
Is there because it's vampire? So is there any and only lovers left alive?
No, the thing about Lovers Left Alive is I feel like there should have been more.
What
Like,
was the violence in it? Like what are
it's
we looking
very
at?
like mostly off-screen stuff.
Really?
Or
Okay.
implied things, and like even then, like they're maybe part of the point was like, oh, they're vampires, but they're kind of normal. But at the same time, it felt like it was like going into like the gritty rock scene in Detroit, and like these two vampires that have killed people across like centuries basically, and it's like not to make a pun not intended, but it feels kind of toothless to a certain extent. They're not doing what they should be doing.
Okay.
You know?
So that's kind of interesting because
Yeah.
I mean, The Dead Don't Die is it's a zombie movie. It's pretty violent. I don't know, like, it's what makes it very interesting is like I think there's a theme across all of these, and Jim Jarmusch's goal as a director is to just create these like we're just gonna hang out and have a good time,
Yeah.
and he's just trying to make that work across every genre. He does that in like the samurai, like Ghost Dog, like Italian, like a mafia movie. He does that in seemingly it seems like in a vampire movie. He does that in this slice of life mundane movie. He does it kind of in the zombie movie where he's like we're just hanging out, and he does that in The Dead Don't Die where it's this like I guess like an American kind of like colonialist kind of tale, which I think is pretty interesting. And yeah, I mean honestly, like I'm not the biggest fan of anthology. And out of the ones we're talking about, he has two more.
Yeah.
One is another one with Bill Murray.
Yeah.
I can't remember off the top of my
Broken
head.
Flowers.
I think Broken Flowers. Yeah. And then he has one more starring the ice cream truck guy from Ghost Dog.
Really?
Yeah, and he's the main guy. The rest of them are anthology.
Yeah.
And I wonder like what do you like you don't have as much as like probably like a negative association with like anthology movies. Are you gonna check out more of his movies? Like what do you think of it?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna check out more of his movies. I know he's making Ghost Dog 2. I
What?
saw on IMDb. Yeah,
What?
Ghost Dog 2 is in the making.
Who's gonna be
And
Ghost Dog?
I'm like spoiler.
Yeah.
I'm like day one. Tyler are gonna be there.
Yeah, we're gonna be there
Welcome
with
to
our
the dog pound.
with our samurai swords. Wow, with a Rashomon copy.
Yes.
If we show up in samurai swords, how fast before we get immediately like beat up?
pretty fast.
We just fly and just stab
Yeah,
each
they're
other.
gonna be real. Maybe like plastic swords with like price tag still on there from the dollar store. Well, I'm a samurai.
I'm a samurai. We have to get a pigeon, a carrier pigeon,
Yeah,
to take our
yeah.
messages. Speaking of carrier pigeons, Paterson.
Yeah.
Paterson is fascinating.
Yes.
Please tell me everything with your thoughts on Paterson, because you gave me a little bit of a spoiler of your thoughts when we talked a couple days ago.
So, this movie went from a 4-star movie to a 5-star movie for me. It's also really weird how much this movie links up to my own life, in comparison. So I'm a writer as well. Unlike Adam Driver in this movie, I've actually published though, so I'm a little bit better than him. That's all I'm gonna say. But first of all, I think it handles the creative process really well. Of like he gets a line in his head, and like just throughout the day, like he's like stewing over the line. He adds a little more, he takes a little away, and like that's like how most I think writers will go through. Like that's like my day is very much like that, where it's like I got a line, and it's like it just doesn't really leave you throughout the day, and so you write it down or something like that, and you add to it or like you take things away, and if it's like a good line, it'll stay with you long enough to write it down. Also, his girlfriend is Iranian.
Yeah.
My girlfriend is Iranian.
Okay.
From Iran. It's like he lives currently in the city he was born in, so like things like that.
Yeah.
I found to be really interesting, and I watched this on a snow day, so I was already like in a happy mood because I didn't have to go to because like I got just the day off in the middle of the week. And
Just to clarify, you are not a high school student.
yeah, I got confused with being a high school student literally 2 days ago.
Did you actually?
I went to steal chicken nuggets from the cafeteria, and the lady handed me an orange because they hand all the students oranges, and I was like, okay. And then Jeff, the security guard, went, "Oh, he's a teacher," and the woman went, "Oh, could have fooled me," and I just walked away. I'm like, wow.
You're like, damn. And we just got ID'd. We each got a drink at a restaurant. We're both.
Yeah.
She's like, can we see? I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm older than you.
Yeah.
The server, I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm older than you.
Yeah.
But thanks. I like to think you're like, man, I just want some chicken nuggets, and you're like,
I just want some.
She's like, you're a growing young boy. You gotta eat healthy.
I have an orange.
I just want some chicken nuggets. She's like, fuck.
So yeah, that was definitely an interesting moment in my life. But
Okay.
yeah, so Snow Day, like I finished it in the morning. I watched it in the morning. I went like 8 to 10, I think. I just finished the movie, and I'm like, I just felt happy.
Yeah.
I spent the last 120 minutes of my life in a good way because
Yep.
like I was just absorbed in the movie.
Yeah.
And like I appreciated the slice of life element of it. It just felt so relaxed, and I was just in the perfect mindset for that.
Okay.
Some issues. It's a little inaccurate with what it's like to date a Persian woman. At no point does she go at random. Which if you don't know any Persian,
Yeah, you might have to explain
you're
it.
gonna interpret that differently
Yeah.
than what it actually means. If you are Persian, though, you do know what it means. So.
Okay. Yeah, Matt.
Yes.
To all of our Persian
Yes,
listeners.
you understand what it means. But just and also just like really well acted and edited. Like the film editing too.
It's
like
great.
When he's driving, he's like stewing things over in his mind, and it's like reflecting what he's thinking of. So it's
Yep.
like the waterfall falls, and he's thinking about his wife, and like he kind of appears briefly under the waterfall.
Yeah.
And like the lines are changing to the poem as this all the scenery is going
Mm-hmm.
through. Yeah, I just feel like I appreciated so much more out of it on a rewatch.
What do you think changed? Because you were really like, I remember you watched it, and I remember I was like, what do you think? He's like, you're like, it was good. You're like,
Yeah.
it was fine. Like, it was a fun, like, solid, like, nice, slow, reflective movie. And this time you're coming in, you're like, this movie's the fucking best. Like, I felt great. Like, what do you think was the big change?
The big change, I think, was just like I matured.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm closer to the age of Adam Driver's character in this now.
How old do you think he was in that movie, by the way?
I think early 30s.
I was thinking like
Yeah.
late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah, I think
okay.
early 30s. But it's like, he has a job that he goes to every day. I now have a job I go to every day.
Yeah.
Girlfriend, and like thinking about like your legacy and your writing and things like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I just think maturity was and like knowing what to expect with the movie more now.
Yeah.
Yeah. You said you had some hot takes though for.
Well, I want to get to the hot takes about it.
Okay.
One, I'm in the same agreement with you on
Okay.
basically across the board. I think first starting off, if you don't even know what Paterson is, because there's not a plot.
How don't you know?
How don't you know? How dare you? First off, it's streaming on Amazon Prime. It is an Amazon Prime. Technically, they bought the rights to it, so it's an Amazon Prime original. There's no plot. It's a guy who drives his bus with his Iranian wife, and he
Yes.
writes poetry.
Well, not his Iranian wife stays home.
His Iranian wife stays
Also,
home.
another inaccuracy is my Iranian girlfriend like cannot be at home at all.
She literally sent us him
She
videos of
literally-
like tubing,
Yeah,
like
she
in the
literally
snow.
went tubing today.
Yeah.
And whereas the girl here is always home, so that's
Yeah.
also culturally inaccurate. Jim Jarmusch,
just
I'm gonna cancel you.
Yeah, just Jim Jarmusch. He's a vampire. He'll just beat you up. Remember when
Yeah.
when he say he'll kneecap an
Yeah, he'll
executive?
kneecap me.
He'll
Excuse
definitely
me.
kneecap- Poof. There's not really a plot. There's not a ton to spoil. It's entirely a work of movies, cinema,
Yeah.
cinema. That it's
Cinema with a capital Scorsese.
was the most important man ever.
Yes. He
It's
did it.
He did it. Oh no, I'm coming around.
You see? Yeah, you're coming around.
I'm coming around on your jokes. Oh no.
Ugh.
It's basically a type
Ahead
of
of my
movie.
time, baby.
Okay, well, we'll save Kills in the Fly Room for another time. But it's basically a movie that you put into, like, what you put into it is what you're gonna get out of it. It's it's the type of movie that if you're distracted by stuff in the background or there's stuff going on or
Yeah.
or you are like the millions
You need to be
upon billions.
locked in.
Yeah, and if you're like, we're all like, people have spent, you have a phone over there, our mine is recording us, but people have spent billions of dollars of technology trying to basically keep us on a device. And I have a lot to, we'll talk about that in the context of the movie, but it's really hard to like watch a very slow movie like this for 2 hours and not check your phone, not do that kind of stuff, to the point like I just kind of turned my phone off and put it on the other side of the room. Like I was like, I don't want anything with it.
I think Jim Jarmusch movies across the board are movies where you have to like throw your phone.
Yeah, because all of his movies are slow. Like even Ghost Dog, which is a most action-packed
Yeah.
movie, is still just like characters kind of hanging out.
He's
living life.
driving around a lot.
Yeah, he's driving around a lot. He's listening to he steals a car and listens to rap, and it's this kind of experience. But I think it all comes down to a couple different points. Adam Driver is maybe my favorite actor working today. I think he is the most fascinating actor in terms of like a camera presence.
He has the most fascinating bulk build.
Yeah, he's huge. He's a big dude, but he looks very like warm and like wholesome. And there's something about him that every movie he's in, maybe not 65 because you watched that and you didn't like that, and I haven't seen that. But where everything I see him in, I'm like, I want to watch all of his movies. Like he's just one of my favorite screen presence, and watching him like methodically go about this movie is utterly fascinating.
Even when we were doing The Last Jedi, 'cause I know like in Dude Bro Film Discourse, it's like all you can do is shit on Star Wars now. Yeah. Like we said, he's amazing in those movies.
Yeah,
too. Yeah,
he's great in that trilogy. He's amazing in the first one. He's great in the second one, and the third one's just a shitty movie. So it is what it is. But you're a bigger fan of it than I am. I mean, this movie is awesome. Like it's entirely a movie about like the process of being like an artist, and what makes it so interesting is Jim Jarmusch clearly as he's an artist, he's a creator, is fucking hates whatever is currently happening with artists, with the internet, with culture, which honestly, when we talk about Search for Modern Classic later, I think is something that is aging beautifully about this movie. It's a movie that came out 8 years ago in the advent of like scrolling content and technology. I mean, it's entirely a movie about the absence of that, about the process, about not creating something to get rich on YouTube, to make Color Swindlerland booktube videos,
to pretend to read manga,
or to read manga and be like, this kind of sucks.
I love this.
It
says so much about society and women navigating through society.
Hey, don't look at my old reviews. That's all I say. But it's really refreshing to watch a movie from that perspective of a guy who just wants to make for himself, who has no desire really to create outside of his own internal process. And it's really fucking peaceful to watch.
His lack of desire to like appeal to people like makes his movies appealing.
Yeah.
Like because he's not really trying.
Yeah.
Like think of like I guess like current phase of Marvel where it's like desperate, like we want to be as inclusive to many people as possible, and then no one watches the movies anymore.
Yeah.
And like I mean, granted, the Marvels movie, which is like the worst box office movie for Marvel ever, probably still made 30 times the budget of Paterson.
Oh my god, yeah.
But like just like like philosophically speaking, like Jim Jarmusch just doing whatever the heck he wants.
Yeah, it's really like I wonder from your perspective. I mean we could go down that rabbit hole of like who like you really like wrestling, and like I've asked you like what the fuck is going on with The Rock right now? Not to do a little bit of a wrestling tangent, but this will prove a point. Like what's going on with The Rock in wrestling?
Yeah, so it's interesting right now because if Vince McMahon was still in charge, like the Rock versus Roman plan would still be in effect, no matter how much crowds booed.
Okay.
Basically, like it'd be like Batista in 2014 or Roman Reigns from like 2015 to 2019, basically, where it's like this guy is our top guy no matter what, and no matter who boo, we don't care. Now with like I guess with younger people in charge, Triple H, and like now The Rock is like an actual executive in the WWE since this new merger. They're seeing and they're like, this is not going to work, and now they turned The Rock heel, and now they're going to do the Cody versus Roman, which everyone wants.
Oh, they actually like went back on it.
Yeah,
okay.
Now we have a heel Rock on SmackDown now,
That's cool.
and it's freaking awesome. Like he joined the Bloodline.
That's
and
cool.
It's like it's just creatively inspired, and it's like it's saving us some months of like The Rock coming out, everybody going Cody. He goes, and the commentators go, well, this must be Bizarro World because like I don't know why everybody loves The Rock for the next 3 months straight.
We're just pretending like it's The Rock's back. Yeah.
But no, like they're doing creatively inspiring things.
Okay.
And as a result of that, like the WWE has achieved more success in the past year since Triple H is taking over than it has in the past 20 years.
Yeah.
And it's because they're like relying on their own creative morale as opposed to just bringing in legends and like for like no reason at all.
Yeah.
Like,
no. I mean like
yeah.
One, thank you. I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
I think
Cody's gonna finish the story.
Is he better finish? Do you think he's gonna win? By the way, do you think he defeats the Bloodline?
I think there's a good chance, yeah.
Okay.
It's funny, like my student Makai, who we talk about basketball all the time.
Yep.
He was like, he came in last week and he's a little like embarrassed. He's like, Mister, like, do you ever watch wrestling? I'm like, I love wrestling. He goes, there was no basketball on last night, so I just threw it on.
Yeah.
And he's like, man, Cody's got to finish the story. Can you believe what The Rock did to him? Like
you're like, yeah.
I'm like, exactly.
What are they doing? Well, to bring it all full circle,
Yes.
The reason I brought up The Rock is I view him very, and this is not. He seems like a decent dude.
Yeah.
He seems like from the stuff he contribute, but he's analogous of what is like like antithetical to basically this entire movie is a superstar who is embroiled in the world of art, but for the own like self-pursuing interest, like
which is why no one thought he would. Everyone thought he would continue with the story because they thought he was too like into himself to like give it up. But he showed self-awareness and is now doing something that's creatively inspiring. He's going full heel for the first time in like 2 decades.
It's really cool, and you can see like the reason. I mean, that alone is like the reflective nature of it. But even like The Rock, when we're talking about movies, like The Rock was in that Black Adam movie, and if you have been following movies, that Black Adam movie was meant to be like the $1 billion, like he's taken over the movie, and the movie sucks. Like it's a pretty awful movie. And you can see like that really ruined like this image of The Rock, and he now went and joined like an A20. Are you getting your water? You need a waterfall? Come on, you can reach. Wow, look at that athletic nature. The peak male fitness. Oh my god. That's so much effort. We were talking about Paterson. Well, The Rock was trying to rehabilitate his image because people started hating him because he's like, you fucking ruined DC, whatever. So he's like, he's
and then Blue Beetle came out and it was like, oh wait, DC just sucks.
Yeah, DC's just kind of a bad movie. Yeah, which I did see in theaters, by the way, the Blue Beetle. Yeah. I saw that with like 150 teenagers, and I was just mad. I was like, "What am I doing?
You're all wasting your lives."
Okay, this is gonna make me sound like a little bit of a douche, and I'm completely fine with that. But there was a teenager who, when the opening credits of Blue Beetle opened, he took out Instagram and like put his phone like this to record, and I kicked the back of his seat. And I was like, "What are you doing?" Like he like went like this. He went, and I went, "Poof." He's like, "What are you doing?"
I didn't know you could be that confrontational.
It's a little fucking teenager. I was fine with it, but like he was like, you know, when you're like sitting in front and I got a big ass fucking head, but like so I'm like, I can probably see, and it's just like right there, and you're like, dude, get the fuck, like nobody needs to see you're watching Blue Beetle. One that's kind of embarrassing is Blue Beetle. Okay, so the whole point of all of this is like the movie Paterson.
The whole point is Cody's gonna finish his motherfucking story.
You better bring down the bloodline. How long has Roman had the belt for?
Like almost 3 years now.
Who has the record? Isn't it Hulk Hogan?
Yeah, Hogan has. Okay. If he makes it past Mania with it, he'll beat Hogan's record. But if he loses at WrestleMania, then Hogan will still have the better record.
What do you think they do?
Which I'm kind of pro them beating Hogan's record because he's kind of a racist in real life.
Oh, Hulk Hogan.
But I mean, Bruno Sammartino has the longest. Like he's still like 4 years away from beating Bruno's record. So,
damn. Okay, so we got some time. We got another 4 years of the bloodline. Yeah. So basically, we're back to Paterson. Yeah. The reason I think that this movie is so refreshing is, I think we live in we live in an age of social media, of like self gratification on social media, like constantly trying to push yourself more and more and more for either money or for art or to just get yourself more famous. And to watch a movie with a main character who just kind of observes people around him, who doesn't really take a lot in, who oftentimes, like many times in this movie, outside of his wife, is asked questions by characters and he kind of just ignores them. There's that scene with William Jackson Harper. Where he's like, what's the point of love if I love this girl, but she doesn't love me back. Like, what's the point? And he just kind of like chuckles, and like the scene ends, and you're like a character who is in it for the process and for nothing else.
Yes,
it's really, really refreshing.
I know, like the actor guy is a little. I was watching this video. It's like. Is on a channel called Real Old Stories or something like that.
I've heard of it.
And he was basically comparing, because Infinite Jest is in the background of one of the in his bookshelf at one point, and he is comparing a David Foster Wallace speech, which is like, I'm not going to be able to perfectly summarize the speech, but it's essentially like people's issues are is that they think they're the center of their own universe, and they basically need to chill the F out.
Yeah.
And sort of just take your wins and losses in stride, which you see in Adam Driver's character Paterson. He does kind of just take things in stride.
Yeah.
Like, the biggest conflict comes towards the end when the dog rips up his poetry book and he's like depressed for a few days. But for the most part, like people around him are complaining or hyping themselves up. Like you have the bus driver manager who complains all the time.
Yeah.
You have those like douches on the bus who are like, I went to this girl's place last night.
Oh yeah.
And like she was so hot. And we were hanging out for hours, but then I had work and I had to go or something that. Yeah. And it's
he's
people,
like women, and then like a woman walks by and she's like, "What the fuck?"
People are so obsessed with their own like self images and stuff. Whereas Adam Driver's character, he understands he's not the main character. He's just a guy, and that's partially how he finds his joy in life. And to a certain extent, his wife is kind of the same way. Like they're both just people who kind of just exist, and they know they have a good thing, and they don't take it for granted. And you get like the actor guy who takes everything so seriously, like she's the one for me.
Yeah,
he wants all this attention. He brings a fake gun into the bar for attention, things like that. And like I think it's like a very beautiful message to have as well.
Yeah, just be like there's a lot of it's a movie about like minimalism. I mean, these characters clearly don't have a lot of money. We can talk about that. There's an aspect of this movie about like the financial aspect of it that's frankly just kind of like it happens. Like it's kind of one of those things. But I'm really curious about what you thought about Adam Driver in this movie, because like I'm completely biased. Like I love him in everything.
I love Adam Driver too.
Yeah,
it's an understated performance, but like that's the point. It's supposed to be understated.
Yeah.
Like, and like even like little allusions to him being like a former Marine and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I just think are so interesting. Like little again, Jim Jarmusch is just a master at little details that feel fitting.
Yeah,
and I love those little details. He's funny in this movie.
Yeah, like
when he like stares at the dog and he does like pure contempt for the dog.
I don't like.
Like first of all, the first shot of Marvin on his chair with the portrait of Marvin above him is just the perfect introductory shot to a character.
The two different where Adam Driver's like looking at Marvin, they're like ugly ass photos of
Marvin. Two Marvins staring at him.
And you're just like, he hates this dog. Yes. He fucking hates the dog.
Like when his wife buys the really expensive guitar lessons, and he goes, how much was it?
Yeah. It's like only a couple $100. He's like, okay.
Or like when she makes him the Swiss cheese,
and he chugs an entire glass of one just to process like one thing. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, he's very funny in this movie.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. He's also put in very funny situations as well. Like everything with the dog I thought was hilarious.
Yeah. No, I mean I completely agree, and it's I mean this is one of those type of movies that like the more I think about, the more I'm just like, man, is this like one of my favorite movies like I've ever seen. Like a little bit
definitely of the 2010s, I would say.
Oh my god, yeah. It's up there, and I really wonder like how this type of movie plays for the. I don't want to jump the gun on is this a modern classic or not, but I wonder how this type of movie plays in this kind of day and age where a lot of like I feel like a lot of like marketing for movies, like the movie Salt, like you haven't seen Saltburn like at all. Saltburn is a really well made movie. It's a really dumb movie. It's really like it's a perfect like 3-star, like if you're in it for production design and for like cinematography and like genuine like talent behind the camera and talent thing for establishing scenes, watch that. But if you're looking for like a comprehensive like cohesive movie, kind of that. But that movie is the type of movie that blew up because the song Murder on the Dance Floor. Do you know that song? Yep, got fucking super popular.
That's the one that he's naked to?
Yeah, he got super popular, but that song blew
He got
up.
super naked.
He got super naked with a big cock. But it's one of those type of movies, and like a movie like Paterson, we've kind of like at least myself, I've expressed like movies like this are just lost to time in streaming services. I wonder how a movie like this plays.
I mean, like the fact that Amazon, like I've seen this movie like on like the Amazon exclusive browsing thing. So like Amazon is like plugs it. I think a movie got more exposure through Amazon than it would have like if Netflix bought it after the fact and like just like hit it somewhere.
Yeah.
So I think the movie got more exposure because of Amazon, and again the fact that it's like it is sometimes featured on its Amazon homepage is like something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not gonna pretend like this movie like did well or anybody actually cares about it.
I don't think so. So I'm also really curious about like what you think about specific like we're little like you talk about little details. What do you think about his wife in the movie? Because that is something I'm very fascinated to talk about. Because when I said I had hot takes, I had stuff about that. I wanted to ask. What do you think about who she plays?
I've already said it's not culturally accurate.
It's not culturally accurate. Yeah, do you know she's plays one of the mercenaries in Extraction?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I know
she's
her
like
name.
she's like the one who Chris Hemsworth doesn't bang.
That's right, but he does save her with one arm hanging off a skyscraper.
He should have banged her. I don't understand why. Like
you were like the guys in the bus.
Yeah, well, no. The difference is that I want to happen in a movie.
Oh, that's a good point.
The thing is, like, the thing I hate about modern action movies is like the guys like just have romances in your action movies. It's not hard to do. Get it hard. But I mean, like, just have the guy just like. Or just have him want to date a guy. Like, just have a romance in it. Like, you have 2 attractive leads. Yeah. You're not making high art. Yeah. Like, my God. Like,
people don't fuck enough in movies anymore.
No, they do not. And it's so stupid. In Star Wars, like, the one kiss happens in the whole trilogy, and it happens off camera between 2 girls that they can edit out of international movies.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. I forgot about that.
Disney can edit out in international box office stuff. But it's like... Yeah, why does Chris Hemsworth not have a girlfriend in the Extraction movies?
Because
that's the most unbelievable part of these movies.
His kid died. Tyler Rake's kid died, and
You know his name?
Do you want to know how I know his name? I was on a walk in L.A.
Yeah.
I can now dox myself because I was not in L.A. And I looked up, and a skyplane was writing, "Tyler Rake has returned," in the sky.
Like, fuck
and I was
yeah.
like, "Oh, he's back!" I was like, "Oh my god." He has I think he had a kid in the movie that died, and his wife separated. But okay, so here's
move on, dude.
Okay, so I know Cocktail is not regarded as the best movie ever, but the thing that rocks about Cocktail is there's a lot of fucking in that movie, and it's like we missed. It's like it's a good thing. And you know what? There's like implied like sensuality between the two characters a little bit. I don't think the characters in the because okay, so Paterson. I'm still gonna divulge the plot.
Guardians of the Galaxy is good because Peter Quill like has a penis that functions.
What is that? Why'd you think of Guardians of the Galaxy?
Because like he wants like there's romance in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, there's romance.
Like, I want things. They're not just like robots.
They're just robots. Okay. So what we're talking about with Paterson again? It's a story in 1 week. It's about this relation. Okay, so here's my hot take about this movie. Okay, because we're all over the place.
And Cody's got to finish his story.
Cody's got to finish the
Cody has a
bloodline.
wife who's hot and a child.
And he has a neck
beautiful.
tattoo.
He has a neck tattoo.
Do you like that tattoo?
No.
It kind of looks
It's
stupid,
bad,
doesn't it?
yeah.
It kind of looks stupid. As the king of a bad tattoo, as a couple bad tattoos, that other one looks pretty
None
bad.
of them on your neck though. So.
I don't, and I also don't like color tattoos, especially on a neck. That's really bold. Also hurts. That must hurt like a motherfucker. Here's my hot take about this movie, and I don't necessarily agree with it, but it's something I was watching. Is Laura a bad wife in this movie? What is their relationship? Because I was watching it, and they don't. Because Adam Driver's character is, I'm not calling him he very much takes everything in stride.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of autonomy there. He kind of just like writes, works, lives peacefully, lives minimalistically, and just wants to exist in the process and be happy. He's a representation of the working class in America, just trying to get by, trying to find a purpose, living a day-to-day. Their relationship on a rewatch is a little odd. It doesn't detract from the movie.
You get the feeling that one day he's gonna explode.
I thought the same thing too. I thought the same thing too. There's a line in one of the poetries he has. Sometimes I think about other girls, but like none of them compare to you.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's really weird for a movie that is incredibly wholesome.
Yeah.
There are like 4 scenes in this movie where he's writing peacefully in the basement and she comes down to like interrupt him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I got this subtext that I was like, are they in like is he happy? Is she a bad, not bad. I don't think they're a bad relationship at all, but like, what do you think about that dynamic? Even from a movie perspective, like.
Okay. I think that there are times where he has to mask how it but the thing is like, for example, he doesn't like the food, but she made it for him because she knows he loves these two things.
Yeah.
Which is kind like she's kind of dumb. I think that's what the issue is.
She's naive. I think a little more naive is a good
more
like
naive.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like she thinks she can just become a Nashville country star.
Yeah.
And things like that. So like, it's like a little iffy. She's very talented baker though, and like at the end of the
And
movie, like
artist,
she
too.
has like at the end, she's like, I made a bunch of money.
Yeah.
From the bake sale and things like that, and she's not very demanding of him.
No.
Like she fully supports him with his writing. She wants him to publish.
Yeah.
As well. She gets pissed at the dog when the dog rips up his notes and everything. I'm gonna say positive. I'm gonna say it's like a normal, like where like sometimes where like your significant other does something and you're like, oh okay, that was really stupid. But I'm gonna smile anyways.
Yeah. He does have that
like,
few times on. She's like, I'm painting the walls, and he's like, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just like, and this is not I'm not detracting from the movie at all. I mean, if we're talking about like movie relationships, this is one of the more wholesome ones.
Yes.
Like a pure like examination of like characters who love each other, and you know, I just there's just a couple times where I was like, what is the dynamic here? And that line of that poetry where he literally he writes it's a love poem, but he writes like sometimes I think about other women. And I'm like, that is it's the weirdest line in the entire movie because it's a line, and Jim Jarmusch, as you know, is not a guy who feels the need to explain anything.
Yeah. I
mean, we can talk about Ghost Dog again, but like, there's a boat on a roof, and you're like, cool. There's a guy who does kung fu to stop a robbery. The
Native American guy shows up in Ghost Dog. Yeah.
Wait,
Remember they go up to the roof?
Oh, they go up to the
like,
roof,
he
yeah.
He's like, are you black? And he goes, no. Like,
yeah, that's right.
That's No Man.
Oh, okay. Oh, he has a couple actors he kind of just works with a bunch.
Like, he plays No Man. Like, the character's build is No Man as well. Yeah.
No, I know. forgot about that. It's just like he doesn't feel the need to explain, so that you're left with that little line. And I know I
think if it was too wholesome though, it wouldn't come off as realistic.
But I think they can. That's a good point, because that is like relationships are like ups and downs. They are works in progress always. Yeah. I don't know, like what. So you think you're remaining positive on that?
Yeah, I'm positive.
I don't know. I just I left that movie being like, man, feel like there's something a little odd there.
You think part 2 is like Chris Benoit?
Oh my God! Oh my God! I'm not cutting that. You have to live with that one. Part 2 is.
I'm just saying, dude. Like, that's like the next step.
I think he's like, these walls can't be painted again. They're just do you think they're
I
dying?
really won't be painted in paint next time.
Do you think they're like suffering from like toxic fumes? There's a lot of paint in that house.
There's a lot of paint in that house.
I must say though, I did like.
Maybe that's why he's so calm all the time. He's high.
He's high all the time.
Yeah.
I will say that she made curtains with the circles on it that I thought were really cool. I think she has a good style.
Yeah.
And her cupcakes looked fucking awesome.
Yeah, they did.
But,
and he ate one. It was like delicious for him. And in his lunchbox, they had a picture of her.
Yeah, she's a picture of her. It's really sweet. And also that location where he writes looks nice. Where he has his lunch.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
What do you think about the twins in this movie? Why are there twins?
I can't make heads or tails.
I can't make heads or tails
no.
either. I have no idea.
No idea.
Like what? Like I mean, there are probably some like omen about twins or like some duality.
He probably read a book from like 1735 from Indonesia about twins and was like, I'm gonna put that into my.
If you guys are like Tyler, Matt, twins? What are you guys talking about? There's like 18 pairs of twins who appear in this movie, and she has a dream about twins. Laura does.
Yeah.
A lot of twins.
Yes, lots of twins.
Matt, do you have any other final points about Jim Jarmusch, about Paterson? There's not a ton to talk about.
No, I just really feel like it captured like how different people go about their creative process throughout the day, like while managing work and real life distractions. I think it's a very genuine movie.
I think so too.
Yes.
I think it's rare, and I think it's hard to find something like this. Which brings us to our best part of the conversation. This is where we decide if a movie is a modern classic or not based on the quality of whether or not we like it, but whether through any number of factors, whether it's the director, whether it's the actor, whether it's the content. A movie might age well. We might just be like, oh, this movie is representative of a time period. There's a movie we haven't done yet, but maybe we'll do it one day, is like Bo Burnham's 8th Grade, which may not be the best movie, but I think it captures a time period incredibly well. Paterson, is it a modern classic?
My heart is saying one thing.
My
brain is saying another thing.
I want to brute force make it one.
Okay, go. Let's hear your case.
I think that this is probably the hardest one alongside First Reformed. Honestly, might be even like Licorice Pizza was a little bit easier to be like. By the way, can I throw out there, when I was editing Licorice Pizza, I went back and rewatched our Once Upon a Time in Hollywood episode.
Yeah.
And I know I don't want to be like I don't want to put you on blast, but you said yes to Quentin Tarantino because he's only going to make 10 movies.
Yeah.
But you said no to Licorice Pizza, but PTA only has like 9 movies, and if PTA didn't make any more, I know he's making more movies. I'm just saying there's a similarity in argument that we used for
I'd say
one.
Quentin Tarantino is a much more famous name.
That is
in
fair.
Movies, though.
That is fair. But I feel like, he also has a more unique style.
Like, would you compare the hype around, like the international hype around Licorice Pizza to be anywhere near that of a Tarantino film? Like when Tarantino film comes out, it's like, holy F.
Yeah, it's like he's making one. Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
It's like Tarantino and Scorsese are the two filmmakers that can make big budget movies.
And everybody's like, holy shit. Okay. Yeah, I am more hyped for the movie critic than I am whatever Vinland adaptation PTA is doing. This is probably the hardest case because I think this movie is something that is currently aging beautifully. We didn't talk about the lack of technology in the movie. There's one phone, and
he doesn't know how to use it.
He doesn't know how to use it, and his character does not have a cell phone. He thinks they're a leash, and he has no need to do it.
Yeah. So what's your case?
I just really like this movie. My case is that I think this movie is. I think when we're going towards an age of more and more like maximalism of owning as much, as doing as much, as hyper focused, as hyper attentive, as constant scroll, do kind of thing. Like, I think a movie like this is going to come back into consciousness, and I think it's going to age really well as a movie representative of like a more peaceful, wholesome time, a time where a director made something about the process of art instead of the monetary aspect of creating for your own internal peace rather than the capitalistic venture of being able to like not have to work a fucking 9 to 5 your entire life. And I think, especially with, because we're technically Gen Z, technically. We're like the bastion middle weird child of we grew up without phones, but I don't know.
We're like the last children to grow up without.
Yeah, like we grew up and it's
yeah.
like we were outside like all day kind of thing. Like we get away with that. I just think this is a type of movie that in 15 years I think will be yearn for more peaceful times. It's a movie that is just kind of nice. Like I think it's just like First Reformed is this nihilistic, like the world's ending.
You think like people will retroactively appreciate this movie because it's so quaint?
I think so. I think as we go towards more and more and more and more, I think this movie becomes better. And I think that's like also an argument we could have made for Licorice Pizza as a yearning for a more peaceful time. I don't know. What do you think? Because you I feel like you're in the same boat as I am a little.
Yeah, I love the movie. Does Reddit talk about this movie at all?
I did not look it up.
No.
This one I did not.
Because Jim Jarmusch is he's kind of a name in film bro discourse.
Yeah. If we're talking, if we go off our logistics of did this movie elevate anybody? Did this movie do anything? Did this movie are we like?
I mean, could you argue elevated Adam Driver as like a dramatic actor?
Yes, because this was a little bit early Adam Driver before like Marriage Story before he got really popular. But he was in Girls, like he wasn't a very popular TV show before this.
Yeah.
So you could argue we're basically all our standard logistics. No, across the board. Didn't really do anything. But from our own thematic logistics, I want to say yes.
But like we're compromising on our objective analysis.
But what other when we talk about more movies, especially the ones that we have thought about, like I feel like this one we're gonna look back and be like, we should have fucking done that. I think when we look back in like 3 years, God forbid I'm still alive. I mean, hopefully not, but hopefully
still on LinkedIn.
Still on LinkedIn, just searching for jobs. I think this is gonna be one of those ones that I'm gonna look back in 3 years and be like, I should have fucking done it. I should have bit the bullet. I should have said it is.
All right, I'm not about having regrets.
So what? But like, tell me why not? Why don't you think?
My only thing is like I just don't think anybody cares about this movie.
You don't think though thematically like it's not going to be like yearned for?
I'm yearning for it. Yeah.
You're an artist. This movie is made for you. This is Taylor. If there's a movie with Matterson, instead of Paterson, it should be Matterson. It's literally made for you.
All right. Yes, modern classic. Sure.
Are people gonna listen to this? The 15 people, 20 people who do. Thank you, by the way.
They're gonna be like, "Oh damn, they did it,
Paterson." And they go, "Wait, so you need to give it to First Reformed. That's a movie about the climate crisis and how we're all gonna die. And maybe in 50 years, when we're all underwater, we're like, damn, maybe First Reformed should have been a modern classic."
We'll have more to worry about then.
How about this? We will revisit First Reform when we do a Paul Schrader episode.
Yeah, which I think allegedly this year he's making his last movie.
Yeah.
He said this will be his last movie.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, we gotta dedicate a whole month to Paul Schrader.
Yeah, we do. Yes, we do. And we can do, because I think you can watch
Jim Jarmusch and Paul Schrader have very similar careers, but they're both like very like small budget, motivated movies where like they feel like they're.
But Paul Schrader had Taxi Driver, and he worked with Scorsese, and Jim Jarmusch has.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, from what their interests are as filmmakers, like, they're into like the minimalist.
Yeah, the small little like human moments. Yeah. All right, you know what? Fuck it. I'm making Paterson a modern classic. It is joining our echelon of movies that I think 40 years down the line we're gonna look back and be like, that movie rocks. And you know what? Maybe I'm wrong, and I'm fine with being wrong. Cause I have the courage to look into the camera and to say that it will be. And to say that, what was one that we said no to? I feel like we've said no a bunch recently.
We said no to Wind River.
Yeah, Wind River is definitely not a modern classic. No. That was the easiest one ever. Like, nope. Moving on.
Well, I mean, I love the movie, but it was clearly not. Yeah. Like, no one cares about
Nobody cares about that.
Decision to Leave, we said no.
Yeah.
Yeah, we say no quite a bit.
Irishman said no.
Yeah.
Last Jedi said no.
Which again we're not commenting on. No, Last Jedi was the easiest. Jedi was absolutely the easiest.
Yeah.
It's not a comment on the quality of the movie necessarily, but
just what we like when we look back and because
what people be looking at in the 2010s.
I was gonna say 30 years ago, but I was like 30 years ago, like the 70s. I'm like 30 years ago was the 90s. Yikes! Oh boy! So in 2050, are we gonna look back and be like, yeah, this movie from 2016 like really captured a time before we lost our mind with not to sound like old man yells at a cloud, but like TikTok and
the TikToks.
The TikToks. Don't you have TikTok on your phone? Aren't you one of them? You fucking bastard.
Yeah, go listen to Harry Styles. Pretend like his music.
His Target music is great. I saw him live, and he was hot.
His Target, like you mean they play it at a Target because it's calm and not threatening at all.
You know, like As It Was. As it was.
Wait, I get that song confused with the times they're changing. They're both the same song, right?
The Times Are Changing.
Yeah.
Isn't that a Bob Dylan song?
No, what's it? Oh, Sign of the Times.
Sign of the Times. Okay, I was gonna say, isn't that? Yeah, Sign of the Times.
Like
is a good song.
they're all the same song.
Sign of the Times is a good
They
song.
appeal to girls who are 16.
What does that mean about me? I like
and they go, wow, things really do change. First, Daddy used to drive me to school, and now I drive myself to school. Times are changing.
I like being driven to school, Matt. Times are changing. Isn't that a Bob Dylan song?
He does the C, A, and B chord. Those are the most. Market research says those are the most appealing chords, the most non-threatening chords.
We can play in a Target over a Target ad.
Yeah.
What'd you think of? C, A, and D. What'd you think of Laura's guitar playing in this movie, Paterson?
Considering it was her first day, that was not realistic either. She would not. Her hand would be cramped up if that was her first.
Isn't it it's super hard to? Yeah.
Yeah, her hand would be cramped. She couldn't. There's no way she could sing and
Maybe
play.
She's a music savant. Maybe she could be a country music star.
Maybe.
We only saw a week in their life.
I don't. Yeah, who knows? You're right.
Where she's a cupcake queen of Paterson.
Yes.
Paterson, real place, by the way. I really don't know if I want to visit, but okay.
I like to visit, but it's like quite a drive.
Yeah, quite a drive from us, wherever we are.
In Alabama.
In Alabama, we're in Alabama. We're in what's an Alabama town? Montgomery, Alabama.
Green Bay, Alabama.
Montgomery, Alabama is not a good one to say. That's not a good place.
No.
That does not have a very good history.
The Tyler family has a lot of history.
No, we don't have a lot of. We're Irish and
we
Jewish.
Have a legacy.
We're Jewish. I got a
You're
lot
Mormon
of
too.
Yeah, I got some Mormon in this.
That's problematic.
We got some stuff. Oh well.
Mitt Romney has one adopted child.
Good for Mitt Romney.
Yeah.
Mitt Romney. Most sensible Republican, which is crazy to say.
Yeah.
Ah, damn.
Whoever thought in 2012 that 12 years later, Mitt Romney would be a hero.
Mitt Romney say something.
We're like, please come back.
Please, Mitt Romney.
The guy who said binders full of women is the most culturally sensitive person.
Did you see? And not to turn into politics, he's like, you know what? I'm not going to vote for Trump anymore because when he was found guilty of rape. I'm like, now? Like just now, yeah. Oh, Mitt Romney.
At least he said it, you know.
At least he said it.
He called out that other guy. What's his name? George something.
Yeah. Matt, the last time we also recorded, Super Bowl. Yeah.
There's no God.
There's no God. That was a boring fucking Super Bowl too. Also, what happened to like?
Sauer fell asleep halfway through.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
But like the 49ers started coming back when she was asleep, so I didn't want to wake her up because I thought it would jinx them. And they lost anyways.
Fucking Patrick Mahomes. What happened to the good commercials? I don't want to be like, but like...
That's the thing. Like my point 2 weeks ago, like the NFL is not as good as it was like 10 years ago.
It is.
There's no competent. Like I feel like the quarterbacks, like Mahomes is the only quarterback who doesn't forget how to play football in the fourth quarter. Like back like 10 years ago, we had like 10 quarterbacks who could play well.
Brady,
like through all 4 quarters.
Brady,
Flacco,
Manning,
Brady, Matt
Ryan,
Matt Ryan, the Seahawks guy.
Seahawks guy, Matt Hasselbeck.
No,
Russell Wilson.
Yeah, Russell Wilson.
Okay. Oh, I was thinking you said 10 years ago. I was like, yeah, 2008.
Yeah, no, 2014.
2014. Oh my god.
Oh
my god.
We had so many competent nowadays the quarterbacks are just.
I think defenses are better.
Defenses are better,
but like imagine like now it's like, but like now the majority of like good defensive players are like a 6'5" dude who runs like a 450.
Yeah,
who's like 300 pounds of muscle. Like I would shit myself. Like now you have quarterbacks like.
But Brady still won at a Super Bowl in 2020.
He did still win a Super Bowl. He's the only one to beat Patrick Mahomes in this Super Bowl.
Which is like another thing I hate is like they're trying to make it seem like the Chiefs and Mahomes are like the next Brady and dynasty. No, but the thing is the NFL, like what made the Patriots great was that the NFL didn't want them to be as good as they were.
Oh my god.
So like they were like the resistance. And that's the way that they were like punk rock. Like they were sick.
Where Brady got banned for 4 games for deflating balls.
No, he spanked Andrew Luck on national television. They went, we don't like that, so we're gonna ban you for 4 games. Because
Andrew Luck literally got beat so hard he retired.
Yes, he spanked him on live television, and they went, and they suspended him for over nothing. The defensive players who said that the footballs were not deflated as well.
Is this what? Spoiler alert! I don't want to dox us, but we're in New England.
Yes.
Is this what other teams felt like when it's like Patriots winning over? But the Patriots went like 10 years without winning.
But
a Super Bowl.
they weren't like sluts for like media attention.
It's a
like,
different time though. I mean, back in 20.
Brady, do you think Brady would be dating a pop star?
He dated Giselle.
She's a model from Portugal.
She was
from
famous.
Brazil.
She was so famous.
Not that famous.
She was so famous.
She was famous for being.
But
she made more money than Tom Brady because she was a model, but she was not more famous in the
but
U.S.
But let me ask you this though: Taylor Swift, and I like Taylor Swift by the way. I don't want to turn this into a shit on Taylor Swift. People have been doing that enough. She's the most popular person in the entire world. She is. No, like what other celebrity is literally does everybody have an opinion on besides Trump?
No one else.
No one else. Yeah. It's literally Taylor Swift. But we don't like before. It's because we have so many like I want to be like the media, but like our attention is so diversified. It's the first time in a long time we've.
But no one had an opinion on Giselle. Like who had an opinion on Giselle?
That's
and
a
then,
good point.
And then like lazy white women are like, well, if I had a personal trainer, I could look like that. That's like that would be the only.
Oh my god, that is peak like New England like Bob.
Yeah, that would be like would be the only.
That
would be the only person. I had a party with my extended family like the weekend after the Shakira J-Lo Super Bowl, and like there were so many women in their 40s and 50s going like what were they doing shaking their backsides on TV like that? They think they're so attractive.
That's such New England like that's so great.
Yeah, but like no, they're not so desperate for fame. And like again, like the NFL is not as competitive as it was. Like Joe Flacco is 45 and he almost won a Super Bowl this year. And he was on a garbage team.
No, the Browns were good. The Browns
not compared to the Falcons. I mean, not compared to the Ravens 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Back when they had murderers on their team.
Allegedly. Alleged murders on their teams. And Ray Rice. The good running back. That was the worst. Is like, I was like a big, like, I had like a Ray Rice, like, trading card. I was like, Ray Rice is the man. I remember I drafted him on fantasy, and then I was like, fuck.
I was like, Adrian Peterson was so cool, and then I'm like, oh, he just
beat his kids too. Because Adrian Peterson was like, that's the best running back. Like it was like him and do you remember LaDainian Tomlinson?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was cool too. Can't believe.
Luckily, no Patriot ever did anything illegal.
Yeah.
Besides.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, we ran out of time. You know he was only on the team for I didn't know he was on the team for only like 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Him and fucking God, he was a train wreck. What happened to him?
CTE.
Yep. Does it. Well, this was an episode on Paterson, an episode that contained a lengthy discussion about Ghost Dog, the bloodline. Cody Rhodes will finish the story.
The Rock turning heel.
Murderers on the Ravens 2008 football team.
Is Taylor Swift part of the Illuminati? Let us know.
Yes, she is. Yeah, probably. You know she's making. Do you see she has a new album? She's coming out. The Tortured Poets Society.
Oh, first of all, that is a hilarious title.
It's great. Yeah.
Like that is
especially
literally...
considering like we just watched a movie about a peaceful poet who wants to just like make art for himself. Yeah.
Jim Jarmusch is making things for himself, and Taylor Swift who's like, what does market research say now? What do I have to make my song?
Yeah,
What
words? The Grammys.
What words do I have to put in to make it appealing to the largest majority of people?
I'm just not. I don't know. She makes a lot of music. Like I gotta be honest, I was still like, there's the album like Exiles, which I learned was like 3 albums ago.
You know who I appreciate more now?
Who?
Miley Cyrus.
She sang at the Grammys.
Like my God, that woman can sing.
Yeah, she's a fucking.
Like Taylor,
awesome.
does anybody claim that Taylor Swift is like a good singer?
I think she's a fine singer.
But I mean, like Miley Cyrus
is
like a musician.
Yeah,
like even when she was going through her like I'm desperate for media attention phase, like Wrecking Ball is like a well-written song.
She's been making great songs. I still stand by that Party in the USA is a fucking incredible song.
Used to Be Young is like a great song. I love that song too.
But even like Taylor Swift had some like really good early ones.
Her country stuff was like when it was actually artistically driven was like was pretty good.
Miley Cyrus though is like legitimately awesome. I also, you know what? I gotta be honest. I like Dua Lipa. I think she makes good music.
Houdini and just so tight. Houdini. Yeah.
You got that down, yeah. I think she makes great music. I think she makes awesome music.
Yes.
What other pop stars can we give an opinion on as two white guys in our 20s?
Akon. People still care about
I don't know if I just think Akon has been saying. Yeah, I think Akon has been saying some good stuff.
Oh.
What do you think of Usher's halftime performance?
I think Alicia Keys should be in a Super Bowl. Like Alicia Keys just came out and just like stole the show for 3 minutes, and then like again
Usher's on rollerblades.
Yeah, well, Usher was plugging his new album that no one's gonna care about.
Yeah.
So Cam and I were talking about like
Cam is his cousin.
Yeah,
by the way.
I don't know. Okay, now I have to say it.
No, wait. Okay.
So like, you know how we did the song "Same Girl" with R. Kelly?
Yeah.
we were
Yeah,
thinking like, would it have been like amazing if like "Same Girl" came on and then R. Kelly
down from the
makes
rafters.
his debut, re-debut comes down from the rafters. Like, how would the world
The
react?
remix to Ignition. And he just sings his own song.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god.
R. Kelly.
Instead of Ludacris, it's R. Kelly. Is he still in jail?
Yeah, he wouldn't. No, he wouldn't be able to show up anyway.
They bring him out like Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah.
Sing Ignition. He's yeah.
Same girl. Same girl.
It's like the idea of R. Kelly and a Hannibal Lecter being rolled onto stage. Oh my god. Okay. Oh my god, this divulges everything. Alright, Paterson's a modern classic. Matt, what are we doing next?
We're gonna. Oh, I got a text message. I got from a text message from Cam.
Oh my god. Okay, what?
He just texted me. Yeah. So we're gonna do S. Craig Zoller next.
Yeah, we're gonna watch his 3 movies:
Yes.
Bone Tomahawk, Dragged Across Concrete, Brawl in Cell Block 99. I have not seen that movie since we watched it in college.
I haven't seen Dragged Across Country or Brawl in Cell Block 99.
I remember Brawl in Cell Block 9 in the first half is like, man, this guy's get going, and then the back half is like, holy shit.
I remember I collapsed at the end. It was so exhausting.
Yeah, it's a long movie. All right, well, I might be miserable next week because these movies, Bone Tomahawk is a lot. Same with Brawl and Cell. Dragged Across Concrete, I don't remember being that good. So. Oh no, I remember Dragged Across Concrete, the My Baby.
Yeah.
Oh,
his name is Jackson.
His name is Jack. Oh, I remember that. Oh man, that's gonna be rough.
Yeah. His name is Jackson.
Oh my god, I forgot. There's like it cuts to that. Spoiler for Dragged Across Concrete. It cuts this random bank woman. Like living her life peaceful with her kids, just so we get to her perspective where she gets fucking murdered by bank robbers. Oh, Esther Exal, you fucking freak.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for watching. I have no idea how the audio is going to be this for the episode, but you know what? Nobody's listening.
What if it's bad and we just lose this episode forever?
We're not going to.
Okay
I'm not. We're keeping it. I will figure out a way. Matt, my hand. Thank you. Well, this has been fun, guys. We'll see you again next week, and leave us reviews. We'll read it, please. Please. All right. Thank you guys for watching. This has been fun or listening, and fuck you and goodbye.